What's up? What's up? Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. What's good, brother? That's born anxiety. What's up, brother? How are you? What's up, y'all? Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? No worries, bro. We all got life, man. No need to apologize. No need. No need. No need to apologize. No need. Everybody on TikTok, thank you for the likes. Keep tapping the screen. Make sure to leave some comments. Yeah, you did. They were going in circles about the Greek. You talking about John 3:5? Yeah, John 3:5 is pretty bulletproof. It's about baptism. Pretty bulletproof. Can't get around it that much, honestly. You feel me? Let me send out my shares. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Let's get the numbers up, guys. Thanks for the likes. Get the shares up, get the comments up, start commenting. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe. Good morning, Doodle Bob. Doodle Bomb. Good morning, Gilberto. God bless you. What's up, Zion? What's up, everybody? What's up? Whoever else is here that I haven't seen, I'm sorry. But good morning to you. Good morning, Germ on YouTube. On YouTube. Good morning, Google Scholar. Good morning, Christ Topics. Best morning live on TikTok. Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. Started I'm only gonna be able to be live for like another just an hour and 45, maybe 2 hours max. Got my new little gig going, guys. Thanks for your prayers. Amen, Jerm. Chest day at the gym. But everything's going well with the new biz so far. Yesterday was like the first day and we did well. So thank you guys for your prayers. If this continues to go well, today will be day 2. So keep praying for me. If this continues to go well, the best morning live on TikTok is secured. Day 1 was amazing. Got the first sale done. Yeah, as long as I'm making 2 sales a week, which is not hard at all, should be good to go, guys. So thank you guys for your prayers. Continue praying because sales can be up and down. So thank you guys. So what's up?
Hello.
What's up?
You're at me.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm good, thank you. You're saying Jesus is God, not Allah. Jesus is not a Muslim, and he's not the Father.
Yeah.
But that means that you're Christian, right?
Yeah.
And you're probably a Trinitarian.
Absolutely.
So you're not a Unitarian or Jehovah's Witness, you're a Trinitarian. So by Christianity means follow Christ, right?
Yeah.
So who did Jesus worship? 3 gods in one, or the Father?
You pray to the Father.
But who do you pray to?
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
So you pray to 3, and Jesus only prayed to 1, but you say you follow Jesus.
Yep.
Think about that. Take a seat. Think about that.
Already
and then
did.
Come back later.
Already did, brother. Already did. Oh, okay. So you just, this was just a drive-by. You didn't really want to bring an argument. You just wanted to bring that up and leave. No worries, bro. Yeah, already thought about it, brother. It's not an issue. So whenever you're ready to actually have a dialogue, let me know. And not be a coward and leave. Yeah, amen, Jerm. It's up from here, yo, for sure. It's definitely up, man. First day yesterday, got one down. I got 2 more days out of the week. It's a shorter week to next week. We're gonna be having more days to get this thing down. So yeah, I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for the new gig. Like I said, it's something I did for many years, and like all I need to do in order to keep this thing going is just 2 sales a week. Obviously, if I do more, that's great, and that's the goal. I want to get to like 4 or 5 a week, but two out of the week, we're good. What's up?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the title. It says Jesus is God, not Allah, and you're telling me what Jesus is not. But as a selling point, shouldn't you be explaining to me why Jesus is God and why the Bible is correct, instead of disproving every religion out there?
I'm just putting statements out there, bro. Do you have an argument against it or no?
If I have an argument against it, I'm more interested to understand why Jesus is God.
What's your faith?
I'm a Muslim.
Okay. Yeah, because we believe in the Bible.
That's it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, then what's the point then of having a conversation? If you ask me why do you believe in Allah, I would say because I believe in the Quran.
Then I would follow up and say, why do you believe in the Quran?
Well, I'm the one who first asked you, why don't you explain to me why Jesus is God? And you say, you just cut it off right there, but suddenly you want to engage me. Why do you believe that Jesus is God?
No, you're just being lazy.
No, you're being sneaky.
I'm being sneaky?
Yeah, because I asked you a direct question and you brought it back to over here.
Brother, I just gave you an example of what you should have done to elaborate, to dig a little deeper, but you don't want to.
You're the one who wants to sell Christianity.
Who says I'm trying to sell Christianity here?
So you don't want to bring people into Christianity?
I mean, that'll be nice, but that's not the goal of this live. No.
Why not? But isn't that what Jesus?
Are you offended?
Like, bring people to Christianity?
Are you offended? Are you offended that that's not my goal?
Why would I be offended? I'm just
puzzled. Then why do you care if it's not my goal or not? I just told you. You've been corrected. You thought this was I'm out here to evangelize and convince you to come into Christianity. It's not the goal.
So you're not here to evangelize?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So you're here to disprove Islam?
I'm here to well, I mean, if you want to bring an argument against Islam, yeah, I'll refute you. But
why do you care about disproving Islam?
Because there's a lot of Muslims out there that prey on Christians that don't know anything about their own religion, and then try to plant seeds of doubt. You guys prey and capitalize on people who are ignorant, and then try to convert them to Islam that way. So I'm here to see Muslims bring those same arguments to me, refute you, so that Christians don't fall for it anymore.
I understand. So you're saying Christians that are ignorant of their religion, instead of explaining to them their religion, you explain why the other religion is bad. You said they're ignorant of their own religion.
Absolutely.
But instead of filling up that ignorance and
I am filling up the ignorance right now. That's the purpose of this live.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Hey, guys. Hey, Christians in the chat. If you have been watching my live and you have learned something about your own faith through my live, put a 1 in the chat. Watch how this happens.
Stop. You just said it yourself. You said Christians that are ignorant of their faith, instead of teaching them their faith, I teach them why the other religion shouldn't be the one they should go to.
I do teach them.
So basically, when you want to sell Coca-Cola, you just tell them that Pepsi is bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I'm doing it. Yeah. Is that a problem?
That's that kind of, instead of saying why it's like, instead of telling them why your product is good, you're telling them the other product is bad.
Not necessarily. They're finding out how good Christianity is by seeing how much of a false religion Islam is.
That doesn't explain why Christianity is right, because
they
you
find
just said
if you actually Trauma, if you actually engage in the conversation, you'll see why. But you're afraid to engage in the conversation.
This is where they kick you out, by the way. Now they start projecting on you, and this is when they kick you out. So
who are you talking to yourself? You're talking to yourself right now or something? Were you talking to yourself?
No, I'm just talking to the chat. You were just talking to them, right?
I was talking to you. This is
talking to the chat, sir.
Okay. Don't talk to my chat. Do me a favor. Do you have an argument? Do you have an argument, or were you here to just complain?
My argument is that your Christianity is so weak, as you just said. The people are so ignorant of their own religion that instead of giving them good reasons to stay within Christianity, you just want to tell them why the other religion is bad. And I don't think that is as a huge desperation on your part. And I've noticed this from many of you guys.
Okay, good. I keep asking, do you have an argument against anything on the screen?
Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the that's it.
How do you know the God? How do you know the Quran? Okay, how do you know the Quran? How do you know the Quran's from God?
The same way you know the out of faith, just like you know the Bible is from God.
Who did the Quran come from?
Who did the Quran come from? It came from God.
Okay, how was it delivered? How was it delivered?
How was it delivered? UPS, I guess.
So you don't know your own religion then?
No, I know it. I just don't understand the point.
You're just gonna expose your own ignorance, huh?
Because the only reason I would have that conversation with you is if it's reciprocated, because you want me to be on the defensive. Good, I can answer all your questions.
Well, you don't want to bring an art, brother. I gave you opportunity, like three opportunities. I gave you 3 opportunities.
This is where they kick you out.
Yeah. This is where you want to get kicked out.
He can't take it. He can't take it.
So I gave you 3 opportunities. 3 opportunities to bring an argument. You refused to do it. You just complained. Now I'm asking you to now defend your faith. You don't want to because you can't.
Defend.
Because you can't
defend your own faith from the ignorance of your own people.
Yeah. This is where he wants to get kicked out. So your wish is my command, brother. See you later. Can't handle it. You can't defend your own faith. Can't bring an argument. You just cry and insult. That's all you want to do. So kick rocks.
Yo, I got a question.
What's up?
Okay. There's a reason. I mean, okay. Let me say this question.
What faith are you?
What's one, just one, not many, just one fact why Islam is false?
It's not historically accurate.
You got to get a more detailed fact.
Yeah, it says that Jesus didn't die on the cross. Historically, he did.
How would you know if he did?
Because of history, bro. We have historical evidence.
History written by who? Name one historian.
Bart Ehrman.
What year was he born?
Who?
Bart Ehrman.
Why does that matter?
It does, because I want to know what year he was born. Why would I care about someone who... Okay, listen. World War II happened. Someone claims that they've seen it happen, right? And they've seen the atrocities that happen to all these people.
It's not how that's not how historians work, bro. Like, historians are not what they do is they gather evidence. They're experts in gathering evidence, following the historical method, and determining what ended up happening or not. And then you have multiple historians that follow that, and throughout different generations, given the evidence that's given. The historians are not necessarily present at the event, bro. That's not how that works.
Okay, let's also say this. There's historians during the Prophet Muhammad, right? Historians who weren't Muslims, they were Jewish, the Jewish faith.
Okay.
They were recording everything, all the miracles of the Prophet, correct? They were recording how he was just waking up from the night telling these stories with so-called no inaccuracies, because this Prophet's miracle was the Quran itself.
Bro, what does this have to do with the crucifixion, bro?
To refute the religion of Islam, all you have to do is find something wrong in the Quran. 1,400 years.
I just gave you one. You're not giving me a response.
All right, go ahead.
I gave you one. You're not actually responding to it, bro.
Jesus died on the cross, but you don't. Okay, again, how did Bert Ehrman see it?
Brother, he's a historian. Do you know how historians work?
Do you know? Yo, I know how historians work. So
No,
how
you,
could
no, you don't.
A historian from that time? It's from the Prophet Muhammad.
So if there's a historian, if there's any historian that didn't live in the time of Muhammad, but he is supporting and bringing evidence of Islam, I could just deny it because he wasn't there.
No, there is 100%.
Okay, then. So historians don't need to be present at the event, bro. That's not how that works.
Yo, how would you know the historian isn't biased? How is he not biased?
Because he's atheist. And he hates Christianity.
Yo, he hated Christianity, right?
He hates Christianity. He's currently alive, yeah.
Oh, this historian, I don't know who you're talking about, but this historian is alive today, so how would you know if he was crucified?
Because he's not the only historian that does it, but he is the best one to use against you guys, because Muslims use Bart Ehrman to refute Christianity every day. Because he writes books against Christianity.
Hold on, let's go back to point one. I said, name one thing false about Islam. You said Jesus was crucified.
Yeah, Jesus died on the cross. Yes, he died on the cross.
Name one historian at that time who ran it down with no biasness.
You didn't ask. You said name one historian. Bro, so you need to tell me why Bart Ehrman is not a valid historian.
Okay, name his sources. I don't know who this guy is.
So look him up, bro. That's not my fault. Look him up.
Brother, living today.
You asked for a historian. It's not my fault.
You don't ask a historian.
You asked for his brother. You asked for a historian. It's not my fault. You don't know anything about history. So go do your research and come back. Or ask another question. You just can't refute this. That's why you're getting upset. And you can't refute it because you don't know. You haven't studied this. So that's okay. Just say, hey, look, I haven't studied this enough. All you got to do is say, look, I haven't studied this enough. I'm going to go study. I'll come right back. No problem.
I do know, because there's no point.
You haven't, bro, you don't know anything about history.
Name another fact, bro. There's the historian thing. There's no point going back and forth.
Why is there no point? You said name one thing. I already named it.
I said name the historian. You named the historian alive today.
So?
Yo, his sources. How would you... He was not there and witnessed it. Name one person who witnessed the Jesus crucifixion who's a historian.
Brother, that's not how that works.
You can't name one.
That's not how that works.
Listen, a person might have been crucified. Okay, I'm not doubting it. Romans crucified lots of people. It's a normal practice.
Yeah, but Fajr, man. But see, here's the thing. You're asking for an eyewitness that has to be a historian. Can you name me one eyewitness that's a historian that saw Muhammad's miracles?
Multiple Jewish people.
Name me one. Give me a name, and they have to be a historian.
I don't know from heart, but you can do your research on it.
Can you name me one? Can you name me one that was a historian that saw it?
No, I can't.
Okay, so then all his miracles, according to your own standard that you just try to apply on me, all of those things are invalid.
Yo, if I bring it up, because honestly, bro, okay, I don't want to.
You see how that just backfired on you? You see how that just backfired? You see how dishonest it is that you're going to set that standard on me, but you can't even do it for your own history. You see that, right?
Okay, why would the Jewish people who aren't Muslim vouch for a prophet that they don't even know?
Exactly. Why would Bart Ehrman, who hates Christianity as an atheist, go ahead and say he absolutely did die on the cross? Why would he say that?
Yo, name one historian from back then, or at least one people. What was the people?
Exactly. Name me first. You name me one from the time of Muhammad that witnessed Muhammad's miracle. You name me one
person who lived with Jesus. Say he died.
See you later, bro. Your whole criteria crumbled on you, man.
Hello.
What's up?
How are you doing?
Doing all right. What's your faith?
I'm Muslim.
Okay. What's your question?
I don't have a question. I'm just joined to see why you believe that and not the other way.
Why what?
Why do you believe that Jesus is God? That's my question.
Because I believe in the Bible.
I'm sorry?
Because I believe in the Bible.
Okay. Hasn't the Bible been altered and changed multiple, and it's not even in its prescribed in its original text?
No, not theologically, no.
No?
Mm-mm.
I mean, I think that Jesus is highly respected in Islam as well, and that we respect him as a Messiah and everything, that he came as a prophet. And
So?
this is our take. I mean, I respect your take with all of the respect. I'm not here to argue with you or disrespect you or your thoughts. I'm just speaking with respect, stating my opinion. My opinion can be invalid to you, and so is your opinion can be invalid to me. But yeah, just heads up. I'm listening now.
I mean, why do I care if you guys like Jesus or not? Why would I care?
Because I feel like Christianity and Islam and Judaism are the all big three faiths, and they're all some historians and also some scientists, they prove that all these religions are worshiping the same God, because God cannot take a physical
No, they're
form.
not, bro. No, they're not.
He resides outside of this. Yours and my capacity and mentally, our brain is not developed enough to comprehend what God is in the first place. How could he die on a cross as a human if he's God? He's the one who created death in the first place.
Death is
so
not
he
something that's
resides
created,
outside
brother.
of that space and matter that bind us. But this is again my opinion. I respect yours, and I'm not disrespecting your opinion at all. And I'm just stating my opinion. Please, if you feel uncomfortable, just let me stop and I can just leave. You know, I'm here to respect you. I respect your religion a lot. And actually, I did my studies on the Bible, and I think it's actually, it completes, or the Quran completes it. And the Quran is the final testament. What is it called? The Injil, in Arabic, we call it Injil. The Bible in English is actually the Old Testament. And it's also right, and it's also true at that time. But I feel like mankind and people are evil, and they fall for the tricks of Satan. So that therefore, some things they change, some things they don't. That's why God sent the final testament to mankind. And
How do you know God sent that?
because he resides outside, and he sends many prophets. For example, Noah and Solomon. Those are all prophets that came throughout time.
But how do you know? But how do you know the Quran came from God?
It has so many miracles that science are proven today, and they've been proven for multiple years. Many scientists actually don't convert. Like I'm not. Some of them do. Some convert to Islam. Some don't. But they prove that there is so many things scientifically that speaks about the Earth, the atmosphere around us.
Why would that mean it comes from God? Just because it has information about the Earth?
Because who created the earth in the first place? God did. He created it in 7 days.
So,
and then he created Adam and Eve.
So,
and then so on forward. Adam is actually the first prophet.
Hey, brother, that doesn't
that came to earth.
Hey, you need to like slow down, man. Like we're going one point at a time.
Like, I just
so, but that doesn't mean just because God created the earth that others can't discover this information. Just like you said, scientists.
How can a man?
Hold on, brother. Hold on.
Yes. I'm listening.
So humans can discover these things because scientists discovered these things to confirm the things in the Quran, right? So,
yes.
So why does it have to only come from God? Why couldn't it have come from someone other than God?
Because God sends angels to communicate. Nobody has witnessed God but Jesus and Moses. Not even Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad himself didn't even witness him. Only Jesus, because he's been uplifted.
You're not. Bro, what was my question? What was my question? What was my question?
Why would the people of on the earth something about the book, right? The Quran? He said, "How?"
No, see, you're not actually listening, bro.
I'm listening. Okay, can you ask me the question one more time? I'll pay more.
Why would you assume that this information about the earth can only come from God?
That's a very good question. Why would I assume that the information in the Quran comes from God? Because he revealed it to mankind, as he revealed the Bible and the Torah for the Jews and many other books. There is 4 holy books that were revealed to mankind, as well as suhufs, pages that were revealed to
That's
other
fine,
prophets.
bro. That's fine. But you're saying the Quran came from God. How do we know?
How do we know? It's many miracles is performed. The world itself, you can't even translate it to its fullest in English, and the words itself describe many miracles that are actually happening in the modern today. How there will come a time where there are going to be many buildings, and as if you turn around right or left, there is building everywhere. And
Why would you, brother? Why would you assume?
Why would you assume? And completes the Bible.
Bro, you're just repeating everything that I'm already asking you. Why would you assume I'm going to grant you all of that? Why would you assume that information had to have only come from God?
So maybe I'm not the right person to answer that question because I'm not. I'm still on my journey to learn more.
How long have you been a Muslim?
I've been a Muslim my whole life, and I also studied Christianity for the past 5 years since I've been here. I've been living with Christians more than Muslims now, and I studied it, and I love it. I absolutely, and I respect it. But I feel like it's just it has lost. It has been tampered with. People have changed it. People are corrupt again. There isn't.
How do you know that about Christianity?
Any religion actually.
How do you know that about Christianity?
How do I know about it? Because I studied it.
What did you study? How do you know? When you studied it, what did you study that made you believe that it got changed?
It's been altered so many things because right now,
like
for
what?
Example, the nuns,
like what?
The nuns, you guys call them women of the cloth, and they don't. Why are they still covered? And because those are the last people that are attached to their religion deeply. Most Christians live there today, not connecting with God, but connecting with themselves and only servicing themselves. We are a species like an ant that we reside.
Bro, what was my question?
Instinct. We act upon.
Bro, you do this thing. You do this, bro.
Question,
when you do this thing where you don't really listen to what I'm saying and you just go on and on these tangents that have nothing to do with what I asked. I asked you what has changed in Christianity and how do you know it?
I was just stating it, but you looked past it immediately.
What are you talking about? What does nuns have to do with this? What?
The nuns, why are they still covered and the other Christian women aren't? Because actually in your book, not in the Quran, in the Bible, it states that you stay away from alcohol, that the women should cover themselves, and
it doesn't say where does show me where it says hey, hello, stop with the yapping, bro. You just go on and on. Show me where it says in the Bible stay away from alcohol. Go ahead. Since you studied it, you'll know what verse that is. Go ahead. Show me what that verse is. I'm waiting, bro. Exactly. You just wanted to come up here and just yap. You wanted to come up here and yap, play the little pious, I'm a nice guy, I just want to be nice to Christians, just to kind of buy an opportunity to yap. But the minute we start to ask questions to validate what you're saying, Mr. I studied this, then all of a sudden you don't want to talk no more. And nobody kicked him off. He left on his own. Yeah, the minute we want to ask questions to validate anything that you're claiming, you get flustered. Because you're a liar. You haven't studied this. What's up?
Yo.
You little ass kid, man. What's up?
So you were saying a second ago, and forgive me because I came in the middle of the statement, but you were saying something about asking for proof of what has been changed in Christianity and this, that, and the third. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, theologically.
Theologically, okay. So the Trinitarian doctrine wasn't wasn't finalized until the Council of Nicaea. Council of Chalcedon.
No, actually, he's wrong about that.
Or so
that gentleman in the back is wrong.
Correct or incorrect?
Incorrect. Incorrect. Incorrect.
The Council didn't believe in the Trinity. They were people who believed in the Father and the Son were equal. The Holy Spirit was added later on. The whole Trinity.
Either way,
400 years.
Am I talking to two people or one?
Either way, the Trinitarian doctrine wasn't entered into Christianity until 300 or so CE. So that's a change, correct?
No.
How is that not a change?
Because there were people that were trying to move.
Today.
Hey, listen, guys. I'll talk to both of you. But when I start talking, you guys start interrupting. That's where it's going to be a problem. Okay?
I'm trying to hear you.
Okay. Well, you can't hear me if one of you guys are talking while I'm talking. I'll wait till he's done.
So it's not a change because people were trying to what?
Oh, you guys are done talking now? Okay, good. Here, I'm going to mute your mic just to make sure you guys can't control your impulses. Yeah, so the Trinitarian doctrine always existed. Even before Christians were around, there were Jews that believed in a multi-personal God. Now, what was finalized, not in Chalcedon, actually Constantinople I, before Chalcedon, was the terminology and the understanding, the full understanding, the philosophy of the Trinity and the terms that are being used. But even the word Trinity was starting to be used in the 2nd century. We see that in early church father writings. That's 200 years before Nicaea. So no, the Trinity doctrine is not something they just created at this. What they were doing was establishing it because there were people that didn't believe in the doctrine, and they debated as to whether this is an actual original teaching or not. Clearly, the Trinitarians won. They had more evidence that it was an original teaching, and it existed long before Christianity, the idea of God being multi-personal. So, yeah, you guys can respond to that.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I actually have a question though. So that being said, so you believe in the Trinity then, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then as someone who doesn't believe in the Trinity, is there any way that you can help me understand how that makes sense?
I don't know how you formulate what's true, what's not.
Know how.
No, I don't know how I would convince you. I don't know you. But what faith are you? What faith are you?
I'm not asking you to convince me. I'm asking you to make it make sense.
Okay, what faith are you now?
What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with making sense of the Trinity?
It has a lot to do with it. And I kindly and I let you guys ask me questions. I would imagine you would show me the same respect and answer mine.
But I'm saying though, like you're asking something that has nothing to do with what.
So if you, I know you don't watch my lives. I know you don't watch my Savannah. I know you don't watch my lives, but everybody who comes up on the panel needs to answer this question. I just let you guys go on out of respect. But what faith?
Asked you a question.
And I've been answering all your questions. Now I asked one, and we can continue. Yeah. What faith are you? That's it.
You already know.
I don't know what. Oh, you're a Muslim?
But I'm saying
you weren't born a Muslim, though.
The Trinity makes sense. The Trinity is illogical.
What's illogical about it?
1 cannot be 3. 3 cannot be 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 divided by 1 is 3.
Okay. How many gods are there in Islam?
1 times 1 times 1. That's the equation.
How many gods are there in Islam?
1.
How many attributes does that God have?
How many? I'm sorry.
Attributes does that God have?
99.
That's in Islam.
So those 99 attributes are Allah, correct? So those 99 attributes are Allah, right?
They're his attributes. Yes.
They're his attributes.
So how can 99 attributes be one God? How can
They
99
are descriptors of Allah.
Oh,
is what
okay.
they are.
Oh, they're descriptors of Allah. Oh, okay.
Yes, that's
So
what
are
an
they
attribute is.
good. Okay, so those descriptors, are they distinct from each other?
So is Jesus an attribute of God?
I'm just giving you guys well, at least Savannah did. At least
Yahweh, sir.
Hey, bro, you're not gonna talk over me, man. Look, I know you guys are starting to panic just a little bit. Okay, you wanted me to make sense as to how 3 can be 1. Exactly. Run. And Savannah, go look up chapter 4, verse 34 in your Quran. Let me know in the DMs if you need help. All right, if you're trapped, because if you ever disobey that man in the background, he can strike you. Just to let you know. These women falling for Islam be out of love. They get a little D from a Muslim and they fall in love, and then all of a sudden they become Muslim, like crazy.
Can you hear me?
What's up? Yep.
What's going on, brother? Yeah. So basically, I had a background in Christianity.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm agnostic, but I guess I'm trying to understand God's love through biblical scripture, and I'm trying to, read biblical scripture in good faith.
Okay.
But I guess some questions that I have as of right now is trying to understand God's love through the scripture, and like especially being able to go run through across the Old Testament scriptures. It's like it's really hard to like get a grasp of that genuinely. Like for example, with like Elisha's story, his successor of Elijah. After Elijah was sent like a fiery chariot into heaven, and then Elisha was his successor. He was like mocked by like teenagers, and then 2 female bears were like mauling the 42 teenagers because they were like mocking him for calling him bald or whatever.
No, if you actually read the story, they were a threat to him physically.
They were a threat.
Mm-hmm.
You mind?
You're muted, by the way. If you go to the.
You mind? Oh, sorry. You mind taking me to that specific part?
Well, you should know it. You were reading it, right? Where's the verse? It's in probably like 2 Kings, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I was guided to that specific part by someone, and I mean, I don't remember exactly where it is, but
yeah, I mean, dude, you should have this stuff ready if you got questions.
yeah.
So, all right.
I guess I'll just come back up when I have a
Yeah, but what about? So let's just talk about it though. Like, what about it though? Like, what's the problem with it?
I mean, you can, I guess, communicate God's omnipotence, right? Because it's like he's powerful enough to do it. But I mean, how can you say that he's loving if he can't tolerate something like mocking? Because I mean, today people mock him all the time, but you don't see something as brutal as that happening often.
Yeah. So first of all, God doesn't he doesn't make choices in his head or anything like that. Like if he's all knowledgeable or encompasses all knowledge, he doesn't think with propositional knowledge, or he doesn't have a gnomic will, meaning like he doesn't decide to do things based on certain circumstances, because that would not make him all knowing. So that's not what's going on there when you look at it. Now, when when you read the Bible, you will read the Bible as if like he is making those choices. Like, for example, him getting angry or him passing judgment or, any of those things. But that's just anthropomorphic language. It's really communicating the disposition of the person. God's love is eternal. It doesn't change. It is the same all the way around. What's different is the human. So a human that moves away from God's will is going to experience God's love as wrath and judgment. A human that moves towards God's will is going to experience His love as blissful, joyful, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, God's love on Elijah is a prophet of God, and when he moves, and just like He promises Israel, when they are following His laws and meaning that they're aligned with His will, they will receive protection from anything that will harm them, and He will protect them. That's what happens when you're aligned with God's will. You'll be protected. So these boys, or really it says boys, but that word could be used, I think, for like just like you said, teenagers. Let's just say teenagers.
Sure.
Though there was a lot of them, and there's only one of him. Teenagers can cause damage. They can still hurt somebody. If those bears were brought out to protect them, it still aligns with God's love, because like I said, God's love will protect you from outsiders that are trying to hurt you. So still fits.
For sure. You don't think maybe there could have been like an alternative, so that it might have not been as like graphic, so like maybe so that the same way that in the Old Testament where like God hardens Pharaoh's heart, or maybe when Paul writes in Romans 9.
I mean, of course there could be alternatives, but what's the issue with this one?
It doesn't, I guess, at least right now, I don't really see.
It's just an emotional, like, bro, it's an emotional, it's an emotional argument from your standpoint. Like, you're just saying, I don't like how this was done, but what standard are you basing that on? That brings an actual argument. You know what I mean? Like, it's really just your feelings.
I understand that, but it's like, if you're trying to, I guess, help someone that's not really opposed to, Christianity, and get them an understanding of what real love is, and they see something like this, how are they supposed to grasp that?
Well, that's why I'm actually tackling that right now. If you're like, I can't appeal to everybody's feelings, bro. Like, everybody's feelings is different. Like, for example, I can do this. Watch. If you were Elijah, would you feel really good that you were protected if you were about to get hurt by a mob of teenagers?
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. Put yourself in Elisha's shoes. You would be grateful, wouldn't you? That God protected you that way. Wouldn't you not?
I mean, like, yeah.
Okay. So there you go. So now, see, that's what I mean. Like, there's no objectivity to this. This is just a feeling, bro. So everybody has different feelings. If you have a problem with your feelings, like if you feel like this is not right, okay, no problem. That doesn't mean it's not right just because you don't feel that way, bro. You notice how if I put you in a different angle, in a different perspective, you feel differently about it. Right now, you feel like, man, he could have done that differently. But if you were in Elisha's shoes, you would have felt great. You would have felt grateful.
Well, I mean, there's other ways to go about like real justice. I mean, because in the Old Testament, God condones eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but Jesus fulfills that law because righting your own another person's wrong under your own accord isn't right anymore. Yes, but Jesus fulfills that law and says that you turn the other cheek. So it's like, just because, I mean, I feel
that doesn't mean turn the other cheek doesn't mean don't defend yourself, bro.
No, I understand that. It's just to end the cycle of violence, but it's like, I don't know exactly how I can explain this, but just because I feel protected under God, if I were Elisha, doesn't necessarily mean the judgment to like kill the teenagers because they, mocked my bald head. I mean, that doesn't really seem just to me.
Yeah, based on what standard?
I mean, if I don't know, but like, if like a group of teenagers were to get mauled by a bear just for simple mocking, like,
Yeah, it wasn't for simple. It wasn't just for simple mocking. Yeah, that's what they did. But being that God is all knowing, obviously we're assuming that God is the one that did this because we're assuming God is real. We're assuming all these things, right? If God knew that they were going to physically harm him, then it's perfectly just for him to stop them from doing that, right? If someone comes to my home and says, I'm going to come break into your home and I'm going to hurt your daughter, as soon as I see them and I fire a shot to stop from that happening, am I wrong?
No, you're not.
Okay.
But I think the difference here is that you're a human with limited capabilities versus God, who's unlimited to anything that's not.
God gives everybody free will, bro. So whatever those boys were going to decide to do to Elijah, they were going to do it regardless of what God decides or God does.
Okay.
And God knows what in their freedom what choice they were going to make.
Okay. So in spite of free will, how do you reconcile Romans 9 when Paul emphasizes, God's sovereignty by him choosing peoples, I guess?
Yeah, that's not Paul's talking about his sovereign will. He's not talking about the human free will. He's quoting from an Old Testament passage. You know that, right?
With Romans 9?
Mm-hmm.
Where he said you can't question God's
the potter and the clay. Yeah. Okay, do you have a Bible with you? I'll show it to you. And where he's quoting it from explicitly shows free will.
Yeah, for sure. I got a Bible with me right here. What chapter? Romans 9, right?
Yeah, but he's quoting an Old Testament passage. Go to Jeremiah 18. Let me get it up for the YouTube. Love this passage. Just open up to the whole chapter. We can start at. You can start by reading verse 3 and 4.
Verse 3 and 4
of Jeremiah. Yeah, chapter 18.
All right. Then when I went down to the potter's house, and there he was making something at the wheel, and at the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. So he made it again into another vessel, as it seemed good to the potter to make it.
Okay, now stop right there. So it's saying here that the potter goes to the clay, and the clay is marred in the hand or corrupted. It's a corrupted clay. Okay, or ruined, I think, is another word that could be used for that. Okay,
Sure.
So the clay is already corrupted. Okay, now he's going to use the analogy of how the Lord is going to use this, how the Lord is going to respond to Israel. So you can go ahead, keep reading.
Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, O house of Israel, can I not do with you as this potter, says the Lord? Look, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. The instant I speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom, to pluck up, to pull down, and to destroy it, if that nation against whom I have spoken turns from its evil, I will relent of the disaster that I thought to bring upon it.
Stop right there. So he's promising that if you move away from God's will, you'll be destroyed. But look, notice what he says. He says, but if that nation turns from its evil, I will relent of the disaster that I thought to bring upon it. So the disaster won't come if they choose to turn away. Keep reading to verse 9.
To verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
And the instant I speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom to build and to plant it, if it does evil in my sight, so that it does not obey my voice, then I will relent concerning the good with which I said I would benefit it.
Yeah, notice. But if they keep doing its evil, he will relent now from the good, the blessings that he was going to give them. He will relent from that if they keep doing evil. So here it's totally up to Israel. And remember, Israel is the clay, because he says, just like the potter, you're like the clay in my hand. And notice the clay in his hand is it's a corrupted clay. That's referring to our original sin. We have original sin, but we can still make a choice. So we have a free will, even though we have a corrupted nature, to make a choice. Are we going to do evil? If we do, disaster will be upon us. If we do good, then we'll get blessings.
Okay. I guess last question I got before, asking where. I guess I'll just ask this right now. I'm trying to read the Bible like cover to cover in good faith.
Yeah.
So with the Bibles, it's like 66 books for the Protestant Bible, and then there's 73 books, I think, with the Catholic Bible, right? Which Bible do you think I should read?
You should read the Orthodox Study Bible, which would be the same as the Catholic, but it's numbered differently.
Okay. And how many books are in that?
That's what I'm saying. It's numbered differently. Technically 73, but depending on how it's numbered, it'll be 76, but it's the same content.
Okay, for sure. And where exactly do you think I should start? Just like front to cover? Because some Christians recommend that I start, from the New Testament Gospels.
New Testament, like Gospel of John is a good place to start. It seems like you're already in it already, but bro, that's tough, man, because you're trying to make a decision whether the Christian God is real or not, because you're agnostic, correct?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even start with the Bible, bro, because if you're going to figure that out, whether the Christian God is true or not based on the Bible, all you're doing is what you did with the Elijah story. You're just basing your decision on your own feelings. You're going to read the Bible, and if it feels like it aligns with you, then you're going to believe it. If it doesn't align with you, you're not going to believe it. That's a subjective criteria. I wouldn't recommend that. Because you're already starting off on the wrong foot. What I would say is this: have you studied the historical evidence of Jesus dying on the cross?
I believe Jesus as a historical figure exists because the consensus of historians agree that he lived, he died, and a collection of other historical events that may have been, I guess, narrowed down to the point where they think the resurrection is real, but
historians won't make a supernatural claim. They're not allowed to. So they'll never say the resurrection is factual, but they will say that they do know that the tomb was empty after 3 days, and that the disciples had a genuine belief that they saw him resurrected. Right? They will say that. So what my question to you is, you don't necessarily have to answer this unless you have an answer. Is how would you explain the empty tomb and the disciples actually having a genuine belief to see him bodily resurrected?
Probably, I don't know. I mean, there's ways that I guess some atheists would probably, because stealing the body, but I'm not exactly sure how they would be able to steal it, especially if there's no motivations behind it. But
exactly. So there's natural explanations people can bring, right? Stealing the body, you already knocked it down. There's a lot of problems with that. Number one, who would be qualified enough to take down 4 Roman guards? Who would be motivated enough to risk that, right? Especially when the disciples were obviously cowardice at the time because they ran away when he got arrested, right? And we know that's true because that fits the criteria of embarrassment. Nobody would embarrass themselves like that in a public story in the Gospels, right? Unless it's true, right? So there's a lot of problems with that. The best one that atheists would have is a hallucination of seeing that all of them hallucinated and saw Jesus at once. Now, even though it's the best explanation, the probability of it is still very low. Psychologists agree that there's never been a recorded time where multiple people saw the same identical hallucination, but they do agree it can be possible. And the only way that it's possible is if the people that hallucinate are hallucinating someone that they lost, someone that died, that they loved very, very dearly. And that does fit the criteria of the disciples, right? because they love Jesus and it could be all hallucinating at the same time. However, Paul was an enemy of Christ. He was unaliving Christians. And he is one of the people that also saw this same quote unquote hallucination. So because Paul wouldn't have been grieving for Jesus's death and he saw the same hallucination, that now eliminates that even being possible.
Right. Yeah. That, I guess, with the resurrection itself, I mean, I'm not exactly as skeptical for that alone. I mean, even if I were to grant, like me myself, I'm not necessarily agnostic on the idea of God's existence per se, but I'm agnostic on, I guess God's love, because I mean, I do believe that he does exist, because I guess my personal experiences with like growing up in the church and the way that, because I grew up evangelical Christian, and then I had like, pastors, I guess, spring forth kind of like communicating God's presence in some way. But like with me questioning, I guess, just because, I mean, like God's love to me specifically, why not love anyone else that's suffering, way much more in other places? Could God not do something?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, the suffering in the world is not due to God. That's due to humanity's fall. He does honor free will, and we have been given the humans who have fallen have been given dominion to rule over his creation. And that won't be corrected until the return of Jesus, right? So yes, there are people suffering in the world. That's not a cause of God, and God is going to honor humanity's dominion. So in order for God to reach people within and honor what he has established, he would need to reach these people through an agent of a human, right? So the key is we need more believers in Christ and believers in God to be that agent to reach these people that are suffering, right? But that's not an easy task to do, right? And that's what's been going on for 2,000 years. That doesn't mean that there won't be judgment for those things, right? Or the the injustice that is going on, that has gone on for so long. It will be judged in due time, But that's not necessarily the reason because of God. God obviously cares deeply about his creation, but he can't go against his own decree, right? He has decreed humans. If he did, then he's not God, right? He has decreed humans to have dominion over the world, and unfortunately, these humans fell and have a corrupted will. So
you're insinuating that due to like Adam and Eve sinning against God, that's what really brought, I guess, evil to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have a problem, I don't mean this in a bad way, because it's a legitimate problem, and I do believe you're in good faith. But if you have like a problem of good and evil, there is a church father. His name is Saint Maximus the Confessor.
Saint Maximus.
Yeah, if you want to do some research, I would do research on him and the way he deals with the problem of good and evil. If you want, you can friend request me on Discord, and I could even send you some books of his if you want to help you.
Yeah, for sure.
They're long reads, but it seems like you're willing to dive deep. So I don't. Yeah. I would imagine you would dive into.
Not gonna lie, like, I mean, ever since these questions have been like asked to me when discussing with other like of my like agnostic friends and stuff, I kind of just imagine the idea of like, what if like God doesn't really exist or God isn't really loving, and that kind of like overwhelmed me to the point where I'm like, really eager to just push.
No, these are actually this. I would say the top two most legitimate arguments against Christianity is number one, the textual criticism of the Bible, and the problem of evil. And I'm not putting that in any specific order. I think those are the top two most legitimate ones. As why people should have like an issue with Christianity. The problem is, just because there's red flags or there's an issue that seems to be an issue initially, it doesn't mean it is an issue. It just means it needs further explanation. And most Christians don't know how to further explain. So when it comes to evil, bro, just so you know, evil is not something, and you'll learn this from Saint Maximus. Evil is not something that has that doesn't actually exist. It doesn't have an ontological existence. All right, evil is just something that we experience. It's a privation of good. So just like darkness is not a real thing, it's just a privation of light, or cold is not a real thing, it's just a privation of heat. It's the same thing for evil. It's just a privation of good. So everything that is created is good, but everything that's created has a purpose, and when that thing moves away from its purpose, that's what we would classify as evil. So when humans are doing things that are not in line with how humans were created, because we're created in God's image, if we do things that don't align with our purpose, that is what we would intuitively feel as that's evil, and it doesn't even need to be like as extreme as unaliving people, which we know is evil, but it could be other things as well, right? Having multiple partners in sex, and like getting addicted to drugs, stuff like that. All of those things are moving away from what we were created for. Therefore, it's evil.
Okay. Also, kind of think back to your previous point in regards to like the fall of man due to like Adam and Eve's sin.
Yeah.
I guess with this part, I think it has to do with Lucifer's rebel, like thinking that he could be God, and then he himself brought sin to the world. Because how do you reconcile the fact that people have been, like, or not people, but just animals have been suffering through many, many years, long before humans were around? And
that's not true, though. That's just a speculation. According to our theology, animals lived at peace with humans, and they weren't eating each other, and humans weren't eating animals. We were all eating from what was provided from the ground, from the trees and so forth, fruits and vegetables. It wasn't until after the fall that animals had to fear humans, right? Because we were given permission to now eat them as long as we drain the blood. This is Genesis chapter 9, I think verse 8. And then they started eating each other. When the fall, and once again, St. Maximus is going to cover this. When the fall happens, because we have dominion over the earth, it's not just the humans that suffer. All of creation suffers. Even like the reason why we have natural disasters and stuff, that is the groanings of the earth waiting for the alignment to be back with God again, right? And it's just like anything else, like, because we are the kings of this creation, because we are corrupted, everything else suffers. It's just like a government that has a corrupted leader. Those people under that corrupted leader are not necessarily bad, but they do have to feel a consequence because of a corrupted leader. It's the same thing for creation and the animals. We rule over God's creation and the animals, but because we are corrupted, it's going to suffer.
So yeah, for sure. With what you said in regards to how animals have never really suffered before humans existed, you said it's backed by archaeologists, right?
Yeah, archaeologists are going to see. This is where the young Earth, old Earth thing starts to come in. Because if you're going to come in with the presupposition of the Earth, animals existed for millions and millions of years before humans, and we have archaeological evidence of them having cancer, let's say, or something like that. And I'm not a scientist, so this is not my area. But what some other Christians would argue and say, you need to bring more evidence that this animal existed before humans, right? And I don't think there's enough evidence to definitively say that this animal did or didn't exist between humans, from what I've estimated. I don't think because they go back and forth, right? So there's no conclusive thing. So yeah, according to our theology, if we believe in the Bible, if I'm just going to go off the Bible, not doing any scientific research. The animals were not suffering before the fall of man.
So, any scientific claims the Bible makes, do you believe that they're accurate?
The Bible is not a science book, so I know for a fact there are claims that the Bible makes that's not in line with science, but that's not a problem. That's not how the ancient Mesopotamia, like if assuming we're talking about Genesis, right? Ancient Mesopotamia didn't look at the text that way. This idea of when we report something needs to be reported with full details and accurate, otherwise we dismiss it. That didn't come until the Enlightenment period. That's only about 400 or 500 years old. That's this idea of Western philosophy of everything needs to be 100% detailed, otherwise we don't believe it or we're skeptical. That is something that has existed only in our era, and is actually been the minority of what the majority of humanity has actually had thought. And back in ancient Mesopotamia, much less, when they were discussing something like the creation story, it's not that those events didn't happen; they believed it. But the way the events are being described is not to give you the science behind it. It's the details are meant to lay out a deeper meaning of what happened. It's supposed to be. It not only is it giving you a deeper meaning or purpose as to why something happened, but it's also laying out a theological groundwork for the rest of the Hebrew Bible. Because a lot of things that are laid out in Genesis are now going to be tied to the Levitical law and how they tend and keep the tabernacle and all those things. Like all of those things get tied together. So it's also laying out theological groundwork for the rest of the Torah and the Hebrew Bible.
Okay, so tracing back to what you said with regards to Western ideology of philosophy, when being able to interpret Old Testament scriptures with like intense, demand of detail, don't you think it's, I guess, how do I say this, like acceptable for them to be that skeptical of it? Because I don't think...
I'm not saying it's wrong.
Sure.
It's not wrong to think that way. Okay. Obviously, we get a lot of benefits for thinking this way, right? The Enlightenment period also brought a lot of good things, right? What's wrong is assuming that the audience in ancient Mesopotamia that wrote this and read it is thinking the same way we are. You're not actually being intentionally honest with the text. So to impose a modern way of thinking into an ancient text, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. That's the point. If we're going to be in good faith and read these texts, we need to first understand the mentality of the humans at this time period and the context of this time period in order to get the original understanding of what was being communicated. If we are not going to, if we dismiss that, we're actually not being honest with the text.
Okay, you might have already went over this, but wouldn't it be wiser if God, because God inspired writing the Bible through like His chosen prophets,
yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't it be wiser if it didn't like spew like misdirection with explaining, like for example, when in Genesis it explains how the sun came before. We're able to conclude that the sun came before the earth. If that's the reality, then why even put it in the book initially?
Yeah. So the people at this time, most of the people at this time, remember they came out of Egypt when this story was being written, right? Most of the people at this time worshiped the sun, and intuitively you can see why humans would do that, right? The sun is a key factor of not only our everyday life, it's the source of our light. It's the reason why we have energy and certain things, and agriculturally, right? It's how people were growing their food and living, right? So people were looking at the sun as being the source of life. Therefore, they were worshiping the sun. What Genesis does time and time again, if you look at the creation story, it aligns with a pagan creation story called with the god of Marduk. And Marduk, what he did is he fought Tiamat, who was the god of the chaotic sea, and then he fought this god, defeated this chaotic sea. He struggled, but he won. And when he defeated him, he ripped this god apart, and that's why we have the creation that we have today. Right now, notice what Genesis does. Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, it says, "The Spirit of Yahweh hovers over the chaotic waters." And he doesn't struggle to conquer this chaotic water. He just speaks, and then it gets separated, right? So what the author of Genesis is doing indirectly is he's dismissing the gods at the current time. So right off the bat, by saying that he hovers over the chaotic waters, it just speaks. He doesn't have to fight it. The thing listens to it. Tells you that this God, Yahweh, is superior than all other gods. The other thing is, he says, "Let there be light," and light comes. There's no sun, moon, and stars yet. What that tells what that tells the reader is this sun God that you worship is nothing compared to Yahweh. Yahweh is the true source of light and life, and the only reason why the sun that you worship exists is because Yahweh allows it to exist.
Yeah, literally, first verse with the "let there be light" thing. That's kind of what I was thinking too in regards to how light came first before the earth, because
But you understand. See, notice if you're looking at it from a scientific lens, you're like, this is a problem. But remember, this is not how they were thinking these days. If we're imposing, maybe not dishonestly, maybe not like maliciously, but we're actually imposing a modern way of thinking that we need to apply science to this. If we put that to the side for a second and try to think like an ancient Mesopotamian,
right?
And we think, oh my gosh, this God actually conquers the chaotic sea by just speaking. Like he doesn't even need to struggle. And by the way, he's the one that provides light, not the sun. Automatically, you see what theological groundwork this book is establishing in just the first 4 verses. It's massive for a person in that time. But we don't know that because we don't know about Marduk and Tiamat. We don't know about the sun god. We don't know about that because it's not in our culture.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it for like all my questions right now. I guess I don't want to.
Do me a favor, bro. Join my Discord. The link is in my bio.
Okay.
Join it Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm doing a Bible study with Matthew. I actually last week I talked about this topic, about how to actually read it like somebody at that time, right? The last week's Bible study is on my YouTube, which is Red Image. You can go to the playlist of the Matthew Bible study, but you can join it live, and we're going to do this every week for a while, and we really go in depth, and it probably answers a lot of your questions.
For sure, I'm definitely down with that.
The other thing is, DM me. If you just give me like the area that you live, I highly recommend, if you can this Sunday, go to Orthodox liturgy this Sunday and try
liturgy.
Yeah, try an Orthodox church. I converted to Orthodoxy for the reasons that you are struggling with Christianity. Not that I was struggling with it, but because I do apologetics and I see where the holes are in Protestantism, that they don't have answers for these very legitimate questions. I found that Orthodoxy has all the answers, and sure enough, Orthodoxy actually has a history that traces back to Jesus Christ himself. So it makes sense. So
I'm not gonna lie too, even with me, I kind of was questioning that a little bit too after seeing the kid debate with Stewart and Cliff. He made some pretty solid points there.
Yeah.
But I do have, I guess, some interest within going more of the research of the Orthodox Church. But
yeah, no, take your time. Don't rush it. Take your time. But I would recommend at least one time, if you can, this Sunday, great, next week, whatever. Go at least one time to a liturgy and see how the ancient church actually does Sundays, and talk to the priests. The priests are always looking for new converts. There's a huge surge of Orthodoxy growing in the United States today, so priests are getting new converts all the time. I'm helping with my priest for new converts tonight at our parish. We do a catechesis class where we're teaching people things. And there are 30 people that signed up for this class, which is like astronomical for the Orthodox Church. It's crazy. There would go years where there's no new converts. Now there's people like not like coming in droves. So priests are willing to talk to you. They understand that there's a huge. The internet is causing a lot of people just like you saying, "Hey, I believed in Christianity, but now I don't know if I believe because I have these issues with these problems. But I want answers." And the Orthodox Church has all the answers you're looking for. All of them. I guarantee it.
For sure. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look into it. And you want me to DM you with this TikTok account?
Yeah, you can DM me here or when you add me on Discord, whatever you want. Yeah.
All right. And last question, I promise I won't take it too much time. But
No problem.
do you believe that the Protestant, I guess, church in general is like a heretic church, or like, you know, or God is present there, or just doesn't have the fullness of truth as Orthodoxy does, because it's like the first branch of Christianity?
So yeah, and it depends on what Protestant church you're talking about, right? There are definitely super evil, I think, heretical branches. Even when I was a Protestant, I believed it, right? Which when we're talking about like oneness, Pentecostal, and stuff like that. But if we're talking about the ones that believe in the Trinity and so forth, here's what I would say: the definition of heresy is when you move away from the original teaching of the church. That's the basic definition of it. Okay, so. Are there Protestant churches that are in good faith, like maybe they mean well? Are they teaching heresy? Yes, because they're teaching things that move away from the original teachings. Now, are they heretics on purpose? Like, are they purposely disobeying or moving away from what the original church teaches? I don't think that's the case for everybody. I think people they just don't know. They grow up and they know what they know, right? And I would imagine God's just going to judge them accordingly. Okay. Are there people in the Protestant church that know what the church is teaching? They just refuse it and yes, I think there are. I met them. They argue with me all the time. Yeah. So to answer your question is this: are there heretical teachings in the Protestant church? Yes. I don't mean that. It's just teaching things that are not from the original teachings. Okay. They don't have any apostolic succession. No structure of accountability to correct each other. They even argue amongst each other, which is why there's so many splits in Protestantism. So there's no accountability to correct them or move them back on the right path. So therefore, it keeps going. Now, are there people in Protestant churches that love Jesus, that believe he's God, believe in the Trinity, died and resurrected for their sins? Yes, of course, dude. I wouldn't know Jesus if it wasn't for Protestantism. Protestantism is a big part as to why I'm a Christian, right? And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all the things that I did experience that were Protestantism, right? So is Jesus working through even people that are in error? Of course, he can do that. But I think there is a church that he established that would be the normative and the safest way to follow. And God will work with the people in error accordingly. And that's it.
All right, for sure, man. Yeah, thank you for your time, for having me up here.
You're welcome, bro.
I'll definitely hit you up sooner or later. Probably hit your link right now on your profile. But thank you for your time.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you for your questions, because they're really good, and you are actually looking in good faith. So I appreciate it.
For sure.
Hello, my queen. Sorry for the long convo.
It's okay. Hi, my love.
I'm assuming you're going. Everybody hit peace or follow. She's going live today. Yes, it was a good live. So, and Protestants, I love you guys. I know all of you guys are not heretics or evil and love Jesus. I understand that. I recognize that. So, but this is my honest take on it as a former Protestant. So, what's up?
All right. All right. I believe Christianity is logical. I think I'm Christian, but on the screen it says Jesus is not the Father. But in the Bible, Jesus says, those who have seen me have seen the Father, implying him and the Father are one. And also, do you know what the Trinity is? Because
Yeah, I know what Trinity is.
So, wouldn't Jesus be the Father?
No.
He claimed to be the Father.
Where?
He said, so Jesus speaks in metaphor, so he didn't say it directly, but he said, those who have seen me have seen the Father, implying him and the Father are one.
That's a reference to John chapter 1, verse 18. When seeing is not just like a physical see, even though it can be used for that. It's in the Greek, it's used more for like to getting to know, right? To understand. So him and the Father are one. So if you understand Jesus, you will understand the Father. That doesn't mean they're the same person.
Is that not what the Trinity is?
No. Trinity explicitly rejects that they are the same person.
Also, I was watching your thing like for a minute, right? And when you were arguing with the other guy, you said something about logic, and you said if I think someone's like attacking your child or something, is that not right, or something like that? You just like repeat what you said.
If somebody were to say, "I'm going to go hurt my daughter," that they're going to hurt my daughter, and then I see them show up at my house, if I fire a pew pew to stop him, then am I wrong for that?
Yeah.
I'm wrong for that? Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
Because so are you shooting him or trying to like
him.
intimidate him?
No, him.
Oh no, shooting him. Okay, so you're taking a life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Based on what?
Well, if you follow God, God never would tell you to defend yourself by like killing him or something.
Really?
And, God actually said he would want. He said he would want the sheep.
Dude, what Bible do you read? Are you okay?
So can you tell me one time God told anybody to do
First
something bad?
Samuel 15:3, and it doesn't mean it's bad because he's telling them, but he does. 1 Samuel 15:3. He tells them to wipe out the Amalekites, including the babies.
Wait, I can't hear you. Say it again.
1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3. He tells the Israelites to wipe out the Amalekites, including the babies.
That has context, though.
Of course. The context of if you see me pew-pewing somebody and taking a life, that can seem bad at first until you get the context. And the context was he was coming to hurt my daughter.
Okay, but wouldn't you agree killing somebody is sin? Taking another life?
If it's to protect life, no.
Okay, so
by the way, the commandment of unaliving somebody, it's premeditated unjust unaliving. There is an unaliving that is just and innocent for the protection of life.
So you could kill somebody, like you could take another life to protect another.
Absolutely. You wouldn't do that. You're protecting someone else's life, bro. You think the military are just a bunch of sinners? You think God is judging the military?
I personally wouldn't be in the military. I'm not.
Okay. Well, bro, look, this is what you should do, okay? Why don't you go find, there's a couple little islands in the world that you could probably live in that nobody lives, or maybe a few small indigenous tribes live in. Go live over there where there's no laws, no military. You can establish your own objective standards, right? And, so let us know. Send us a little letter in a bottle. Hopefully it reaches us and let us know how it's going.
Morals are subjective, though.
And you believe in God?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, brother. Well, good luck with that, okay? Go find that island, bro. Be happy over there. Crazy as hell. What's up?
What's going on?
What's up?
Yep. Safayan Shabazz here. I'm a Muslim. Former Christian, of course. But yeah, I feel different. I don't think Jesus is God.
Why?
Well, I'll give you one particular verse, and that's Luke chapter 1, verse 32 and 33.
What about it?
What do you mean, what about it? Are you familiar with the verse?
Just tell us what your objection is, bro.
No problem. Luke chapter 1, which, before I say this, let me just say...
Doesn't matter what translation you want, bro. Bring whatever one you want.
But, yeah, I'm Christian, and my wife is Christian, actually. It's on the faith marriage, but anyway...
May the Lord Jesus Christ strengthen her faith so that you can come back.
Gotcha, no problem. Anyway, Luke chapter 1, verse 32 and 33 is the angel Gabriel meeting Mary. And the angel Gabriel told Mary that Jesus would be a great man, that he would be called the Son of God, that he would be given the throne of David, and that his kingdom would have no end. And it's a false verse.
Why?
Herod was the king at the time. Jesus was never given the throne of David.
Okay.
2,000 years too late.
2,000 years too late?
Yes, sir.
How is it 2,000 years too late?
There is no kingdom now. There's no kings in Israel now. And in addition to that, chapter 6, verses 27 and 28, Jesus says, coming with the angels to execute judgment and reward everybody. And then he tells his disciples, some of you won't die before this happens.
That's not what he says.
That's what he says.
No, it's not. He says that there will be some of you that won't die that will see my glory, right?
I have it here specifically. For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Mm-hmm. Verily, I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Mm-hmm. They never saw it.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't. Mm-hmm. They all died.
No. Did you keep reading?
That's the end of the verse. That's the end of the chapter.
Is that the chapter? Yeah. I know it's the end of the chapter. Did you keep reading?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. What happened after?
The transfiguration.
Ah, there you go. Did some people see that or no?
Wait a second. So, verse 27 says, "For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works." Transfiguration.
Yes.
Huh?
What does angel mean?
Wait a second. I maybe English is my first language, but it says the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels.
Yes.
Then he shall reward.
So you can keep repeating the verse over and over again. So now let's figure this out, because obviously you're right. You don't understand. Hey, bro, I'm talking, man. I've been letting you talk.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. What does angel mean?
What does angel mean? Angel can mean many things. There's actual angelic beings, and it could also mean winds or spirits.
Angel, angelos in Greek, means messenger.
Okay.
Are prophets messengers?
Say that again?
Are prophets messengers?
Of course. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. So in the transfiguration, Jesus come with two messengers?
He came with two people, yes. No problem.
Who were they?
Moses and Elijah.
Are they prophets?
Sure, yeah, definitely.
So they were angels?
No, they were not. They're not.
Angel just means messenger, bro.
No, that's a twisting of the scriptures,
no,
my brother.
No, it's not. It's not. You're saying it's a twisting because it actually refutes you. The word angelos in Greek is just messenger.
Okay. So now show me another place in the Bible where Moses and Elijah are called angels.
They're called prophets and messengers, right?
Wait a second, I said angels, right? And then of course we know that
I can show you where a human being is called an angel.
But wait a second, we're using Greek and Jesus didn't.
I can show you. Yes, he did speak Greek.
No, he didn't. He spoke Aramaic. And
Do you know what the Septuagint is?
Of course.
What is it?
It's the New Testament, right?
No. So
Okay,
you don't even know what the Septuagint is. That's crazy. The Septuagint is the Greek, it's the Hebrew Bible translated in Greek.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Do you know when the Septuagint was put together?
No, enlighten me.
It was put together about 2 to 3 centuries before Jesus was born. Do you know why they were translating the Hebrew Bible from Hebrew to Greek?
Why is that?
Because the Jews were speaking Greek more, because they were occupied by the Romans and other empires that speak Greek.
Okay, and so the Romans, from my understanding, have always spoke Latin. They speak Latin today.
They spoke Greek, primarily Koine Greek in terms. The Latin was only spoken amongst the rich people. But the common, the lingua franca at the time was Greek.
Say that one more time.
The lingua franca at the time, which is the common tongue around the empire, was the Greek, Koine Greek. So the Septuagint, why would they create the Septuagint if the Jews were not speaking Greek?
Okay, I would disagree with you. I'm very familiar with and
you have a rabbi that's a Muslim.
Always spoken Hebrew and Aramaic.
Mm.
There were errors found in their Aramaic translation of the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah, those are called the Targums. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, there have been some people in Israel that spoke Greek. No, they rejected everything European. They didn't like that at all. That's
not true at all, brother. You don't know, brother. I don't care what rabbi you claim you have or anything. All you're saying is "nah," right, brother? I actually do the studies of this. Okay, the Septuagint exists because the Jews were speaking more Greek and they didn't want to lose the Hebrew Bible. The Targums exist for the same reasons, because they were speaking more Aramaic than Hebrew. Hebrew was a dying language at the time. Aramaic and Greek were the most prevalent, which is why we have the Septuagint and which is why we have the Targums. And we still have them today. So Jesus, yes, spoke Aramaic. He also spoke Greek. We know this because he quoted the Septuagint multiple times, and he spoke to Pontius Pilate and the centurion, which were Roman soldiers, and you were only allowed to speak to them in Greek.
Okay. Agree to disagree. Moving on. Let's go back to the verse.
All right.
How did he reward every man during the transfiguration?
How did he what?
The verse 27 says that he will come with the angels and then he will reward every man according to his works. How did that happen during the transfiguration?
That's not in reference to the transfiguration.
That verse is verse 27. Then he says, "Verily I say unto you, there are some standing here which shall not taste death till they see."
That's verse 28. That's verse 28.
Right. Verse 27 says that he'll reward every man according to his works.
That is not in reference to the transfiguration.
How not? Why is it not?
Because there's a second coming of Jesus.
Okay. This verse 28 is in reference to that second coming.
No, it's not.
It's all right.
I mean, dude, you're look, bro. I know you're probably used to talking to Christians that don't know what they're talking about. They usually win these arguments like this. I didn't add anything. I'm reading it exactly what it's being said. It says specifically that there are people standing here that will not taste death, that will see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Right?
Right. And so when did that happen?
The very next chapter.
There was no kingdom. He still was. Was a peasant.
So there you go. So you understand. So if you read the whole Gospel of Matthew, the kingdom of God is within you. That's in reference to the Holy Spirit, bro. You can laugh, but you don't even know what you're reading, bro.
Luke verse 1 says that he would be crowned king, and he was not.
He was. He received.
He was not crowned king. He never sat on David's throne.
He sat on the throne in glory, which would be the cross.
He never sat on David's throne. It hasn't happened.
Based on what? Based on what? What would be David's throne to you?
King Herod was king in Israel.
Was he?
King Herod's sons took over. Jesus was never.
That's a worldly kingdom.
This is a false verse.
That's a worldly kingdom, bro. The kingdom
Right.
that he comes to establish is a spiritual one.
It says he's coming back to earth. The
Brother,
angels
you
will
have a
want
rabbi, you don't understand the Messianic prophecy, bro. The Messianic prophecies, the Messianic
my background
prophecies.
is Christian, and this is
Yeah,
what converted me over.
Yeah, well, that's stupid. You
This
got
is
you
what
got
made me
completely
convert over,
bamboozled. You got bamboozled because here's the thing. Like, you are so skeptical of the Bible. You're not skeptical of where the Quran came from. That's the funny part. Is because if we actually start to dissect where the Quran came from, you don't even have answers for that.
Okay. My thing that I'm still going to kind of stay on topic here, right?
No, you don't want to touch that one. That's touchy.
No,
You're uncomfortable there. I touched a little. That's fine. We can avoid it just for now if you want. All right, I'll be gracious because of my lack of time right now. But I just want everybody to notice how I touched on that. He doesn't want to go there because he's uncomfortable. Because if I start to apply the same skepticism on Islam, he's not going to have answers.
No problem. In all honesty, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. I used to be a Christian. I was going to be a minister, and I actually read the Bible, and this is what came from it. But I'll say I still have to push back a bit. Luke chapter 1, the angel Gabriel tells Mary exactly what King David was told in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 16, that his kingdom will have no end. He will be crowned king in Israel. And that never happened. That is a false birth. We have to hold you to that. Jesus was never given the throne of David. Never.
What kind of the Messiah, when he comes to establish his kingdom, what kind of temple is he supposed to build?
When the Messiah comes, he's going to establish God's kingdom on.
That's fine, brother. You said you did studies. You have a rabbi. According to the Messianic prophecies, what kind of temple is the Messiah supposed to build?
A new temple. It's going to be a new temple.
Yeah.
Like,
How?
What do you mean?
How does he build it?
With human hands.
No.
Why not?
Why not? Because in the prophecy, it explicitly says it is a temple built not of human hands.
Okay.
Yeah. So once again, you don't even understand. What does that mean? What does it mean for the Messiah to build a temple not of human hands? What does that mean?
You tell me. I'm going to give it to you.
You tell me. So you don't know.
No. Let's assume.
If you know, no. Go ahead. Tell me what you know about it. Then.
Okay, I'll tell you what I know about it. The Messiah is supposed to be given David's throne.
You're not addressing it. You're not addressing my question because you don't know the answer.
Well,
See,
okay,
this is the thing. This
Let's
is the thing, bro.
assume
Look, I would actually move forward with this conversation in good faith if you were actually intellectually honest. But see, here's the thing. This is what Muslims do. Muslims, they don't want to concede something small. That doesn't mean you lost the debate. But if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Okay, I don't know. So go ahead and
Thank you for admitting that.
That's easy.
Thank you for admitting that.
I don't know.
Yeah. Right. It's very easy. Yeah. Anyways, a temple not made of hands is a spiritual temple, meaning that what the Messiah comes to establish is something spiritual. We also see this in Daniel chapter 7, verse 13 and 14, where the Son of Man in his glory will be seated at the right hand of the Father, the Ancient of Days, who rides up on the clouds, and every tongue and every nation will worship him. We also see in Daniel chapter 9 in the Messianic prophecy that the last temple that goes down is right after the Messiah gets unalived. And it gives a specific time period as to when this is going to happen. And the specific time period lands right in the first century when Jesus died, and right before the temple went down in 70 AD. So we know that being given, we know that this kingdom that you are trying to apply as like a worldly one is not the case. That's not what was prophesied. If you think that him being crowned the king in David's throne means something of a worldly kingdom, you don't know the prophecies at all, or you misunderstood them from the beginning. I would venture to say you didn't know any of the prophecies.
Here's what I'll say to that. Once again, if you go to 2 Samuel chapter 7:16. Those same things that you're trying to say was told to Jesus was told to David. You're going to have a kingdom. It'll have no end. It was said to Solomon, your kingdom will be established forever.
Mm-hmm.
It is an earthly kingdom. It is. And Jesus never got David's throne. God's throne is God's name.
You're implying it's a worldly kingdom.
God's name is not David. So for the angel to tell very specifically, unambiguously, he will be given the
brother,
throne
you're
of his
interpreting
David.
you're interpreting 2 Samuel 7. You're interpreting 2 Samuel 7 as a worldly kingdom. Once again, all you're doing is just repeating the claim. Because I'm actually showing you that in the prophecies, like I mentioned, in the prophecy of the temple being built without human hands is in Ezekiel, and we went to Daniel, that it's a spiritual kingdom. I want a second. It's a spiritual kingdom that's being established. Now, if it's a spiritual kingdom, that means that it's not the criteria that you're trying to apply. All you're doing now is repeating 2 Samuel 7, and you're imposing once again your same claim that it's a worldly kingdom. You need to provide evidence of that.
Okay, show me the verse in Ezekiel if you don't mind. I'd like to see it. Are you looking for it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, sorry, I wanted to make sure I wasn't having technical difficulties here.
I think it's in Ezekiel 40. I think it's in Ezekiel 40. Hold on. Okay, let me go to Ezekiel 40. I think it's there.
Very interesting topic here. Also, I can't wait till you find the verse. I'm enjoying this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you read Ezekiel 40, and we're not going to have time to read the whole thing. When you read the whole thing, everything that's implied there is a spiritual thing. So for example, when they built the temple in Jerusalem, when the Messiah establishes, which is known as the Messiah is going to be the one to establish this. When they build the temple is going to have a river that's going to be flowing from the Holy of Holies. This river will come out of the temple. It will start off as drops from the throne, and it'll turn into a river coming out of the temple. It will go all over the. And then there's other implications of it as well. So when you read, you have to read the whole vision of being built. There's Ezekiel 40, 48. You don't have time for it. It has all of these visions on how this is going to be built that are not something that could be done by human hands. So therefore, it does, because how can you build a temple that has a river that starts off by dripping, that flows and goes all over the world. How can a man build that?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
just for like, and it's okay because I'll read them later, but there's no like unambiguous statements that literally says human hands.
It's 100% spiritual. And if you read the whole thing, and we don't obviously have time on this live to
So
read
you have
all.
to kind of draw the conclusion that it's not.
How else? Well, we could just take that one example. How else would you draw the conclusion that there will be a river that starts off by dripping from the Holy of Holies? It starts off like a leaky faucet, and then it starts to turn into a big body of water as it leaves the temple, and then it spreads all over the world. How would a human be able to build that?
Gotcha. I understand what you're saying. I think
I'm asking you specifically. How would someone take that as something that would be an actual real thing?
Right. How would someone take the land of milk and honey being a literal thing either? It's a spiritual statement. It's an allegorical statement. Israel has never had milk and honey flowing in it.
Okay, exactly. It is a metaphor. So the metaphor. Okay, and the metaphor as far as the water flowing from the temple would be the Spirit of God that's going out of it, right?
So it's not a literal river flowing from the temple.
No, it's not. But these spiritual things are being described as being built.
Gotcha.
Man can't build that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I get it. That's a metaphor. Hey, I'm gonna read those chapters tonight and get the knowledge on that.
Where is your proof that this is a worldly kingdom, though? That's what I was asking for.
Gotcha. If we go to Ezekiel, wow. Luke chapter 1, verses 32 through 33. It says,
that's the same claim you've been making. I'm saying,
you gotta hear me out.
Oh my God, dude. You're just repeating the same claims over and over again and thinking you're bringing evidence, bro. You need to back it up.
Okay, I will. Hear me out real fast.
Go ahead.
It says specifically, he will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord will give him the throne of his ancestor David. And he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end. So it's specific to Jacob's descendants.
Okay.
Not the world. It's Jacob's descendants specifically. It's unambiguous, it's unspiritual, it's literal, and it's to the point that he will specifically reign on David's throne over Jacob's descendants. That's a unification of the kingdom, because at that time Israel was split into two.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he's going to bring all of them back. He's going to reign over them.
Okay.
Now, this is something that never happened. And it's not going to happen. This is something, it's too late. It's 2,000 years. There's no kings in Israel. There's no throne, but it's gone. That's not going to happen.
Brother, you're only taking bits and pieces of the prophecies to whatever fit, or you just don't know. Psalm 118 says that the Messiah will be the stone that the stone builders rejected and became the cornerstone. So the Messiah in Isaiah 53 says that they will reject him. The Messiah will be rejected first. The parable that Jesus gives the Pharisees of the vineyard, that the vineyard belonged to the workers, but then they're going to be kicked out and give it to someone else, right? Because they disobeyed the prophets. So in the prophecies, and by the way, Isaiah chapter 49, verse 6 says that the Messiah will gather the sons of Israel, and then he will bless all the rest of the nations. So what you're looking at is you're either missing pieces of the prophecy or you're purposely ignoring it. The prophecies say that Israel will reject their king, their Messiah first, and then the Gentiles will be grafted in. Then on the second coming, when he comes, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. And that's also a prophecy in Isaiah as well. So you're just getting fragments of the prophecy and then trying to say this never happened. That's not what prophecy said. The Messiah needs to be rejected first in order for the prophecies to be fulfilled. if the Messiah wasn't rejected first and the Israelites accepted him, that would actually be false. Then I would say Christianity is false because the prophecies don't fit.
Okay. And did the angel tell his mother that this will happen?
Yes, and it still will happen. What are you talking about?
Where is in Luke chapter 1 where Gabriel is talking to Mary? Does he say that he'll be rejected and killed
Doesn't
and
need
then
to.
come later and get this kingdom?
He doesn't. The angel doesn't need to lay out every single prophecy in order for the statement to be true. As an Israelite, the Israelites understand the prophecies. So, and Jesus spoke like this a lot of times, especially with the Pharisees too. That he would assume they know certain things that he would go in depth. So why would the angel need to go in depth on every single prophecy to make the statement?
I mean, I think he cut straight to the chase and said, "Listen."
Exactly. So he doesn't need to go in depth. He's going right to the point. Why? Okay. Based on what I said, why does this make the statement not true?
Based on what you said, I'll show you 2 verses here where it says that the Israelites will reject the Messiah.
Psalm 118, I believe it is. Where the
Which verse in Psalm 118?
And just to let you know, bro, I gotta go because I got work I gotta go to. But we can. I can show you. I can show you.
Before you go, let me say one other thing. Right? If you go to Jeremiah chapter 8, verses 7 through 8, it says, "The children at the time did not know the laws of God." And it says, "How can we say we have God's law when the false pen of the scribe has turned it into a lie?" You see, the Bible has been tampered with. And here is where the confusion comes in. Here's where a person like me looks at these
bro,
verses.
hey, you're not going to go on a monologue, bro.
No.
Yeah. So, bro, no. We're not going to go on a monologue. Go to Psalm 118:22. And by the way, Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8, they were talking about people tampering with the scriptures, and I would actually grant that to you and say, yeah, that was happening. And if that was the only place where the prophets were and existed, then I would say that could be a problem. Here's what you don't know. Hold on. Here's what you don't know. Daniel is a contemporary prophet during the time of Jeremiah, and remember they were in exile. He was in Babylon, so he was keeping the scriptures over there, meaning that even if he corrupted the scriptures over where Jeremiah was, Jeremiah knew the Torah by heart and everything like that. So did Daniel. It wasn't being corrupted over where Daniel was. Therefore, it was still preserved even through some tampering. But go to Psalm 118, verse 22.
Okay, let me do that. Give me just a second. Psalm 118 verses what now?
Verse 22.
22. Okay, gotcha. Psalm 118, 22.
And you would have to go do. This is a Messianic prophecy. Even your supposed rabbi that you claim exists, that's your friend, would not deny that this is a Messianic prophecy.
No, it's Tovia Singer. He's a real rabbi. You can do your research on.
Tovia Singer, bro, you don't know Tovia Singer, and that is your rabbi, Tovia Singer.
In Israel, yes, sir.
Bro, if you know Tovia Singer, why doesn't he debate Radar? Why doesn't he do that? Exactly, because he's scared.
Okay, maybe that is true. I don't know. That may be true. I'm reading verse 22 here. The stone which the builders refused has become the headstone of the corner.
Messianic prophecy. This is the cornerstone is the Messiah. Cornerstone, if you don't understand the context of what that means, the cornerstone is usually a piece of stone that was out of shape and kind of different, but it could be used to be a cornerstone of a structure. Why that's important is because these rocks were super important because these cornerstones is what held the foundation and keep these structures up. The structure would not be able to hold up without these cornerstone rocks. So they would find these cornerstones through rejected stones. They weren't necessarily the most like I don't know, the most smooth stone or anything for all the other pieces. So the Messiah will be the cornerstone. That means being the cornerstone, he's naturally rejected.
Okay, I understand the claim. I won't say I agree, but I do understand the claim. to bring it back to what I said about Daniel, okay, and the corrupting of scriptures. I want to commend you first of all, because you're the first Christian I've ever heard say that it is possible that there was some tampering. I'll give you the point to say in Islam there may have been some touching of the Quran and the Hadiths as well. But let's just say this: Jeremiah 7:22 compared to Exodus 3:18 shows the tampering.
Why?
In Jeremiah 7:22, God says, "I did not command them in the desert on sacrifices and burnt offerings." Then Exodus 3:18 says that burnt offerings and sacrifices is specifically why they're being taken out of Egypt. This is the corruption of the scripture. And
why is that a corruption?
There.
Why is that a corruption?
Stayed there.
Why is that a corruption?
Okay, you have God saying, "I did not command them to do this." Then you had in Exodus them going to Pharaoh and saying, "This is specifically why we need to go, so that we can do sacrifice." God is not taking credit for this. He's saying, "I didn't tell them to do that. In the desert, I didn't tell them to start sacrificing." But when you go to Exodus, it says specifically, "Let us go so that we can do sacrifice."
Mm-hmm.
That's the corruption.
So read Jeremiah 7:22.
Let me go to it real quick. "For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt concerning offerings and sacrifices."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let me go to Exodus.
Hold on, keep reading.
Oh, read the whole chapter.
No, read to 26.
Okay, got you. Verse 23. "But this I commanded them saying, Obey my voice, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. And walk ye in all the ways I commanded you, that you may be well unto. But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels of the imaginations of their evil heart, and went backwards and not forwards. Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day, I have even sent unto them all my servants and prophets, daily rising up and sending them. Yet they hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers."
Brother,
okay?
what he's talking about here is that he was asking them for obedience, right? So what Jeremiah is talking about here, and Jeremiah is a prophet that, and I'm assuming you know this, the prophets of Israel, their job was to speak on behalf of God, and primarily not just to give future predictions, but primarily their primary role was to speak on behalf of God on how Israel is doing with their covenant, how they're following the covenant. Are they doing good? Are they doing bad? And what's going to happen if they continue whatever path they're on? That's the job of the prophets. So when Jeremiah is speaking here, what ends up happening is, and this happens as well if you read this in 1 Samuel as well, that when God is asking for sacrifices, yes, he does ask for sacrifices, but Israel starts to idolize the sacrifices and not do the sacrifices what they were actually meant to be. So when he says here, when God is saying here, what I was asking for was not actually for burnt offerings or sacrifices, even though he did ask for those things. What he's asking for is obedience. Obedience. The Israelites started to miss the meaning as to what the burnt offerings and the sacrifices were. And really the meaning behind it is submitting to God and being obedient. That's the context of what Jeremiah is talking about. This is a repeated context, by the way, through the prophets and through, like I said, it starts off in 1 Samuel, where it's like, I'm not asking, I never wanted an actual sacrifice. I just wanted obedience. That's what I want.
Gotcha.
So,
to push back a bit, the verse specifically says, unambiguously, I did not command them. I did not command them concerning burnt offerings and sacrifices.
I understand it says that. I understand it says that. This is hyperbolic. This, if you read the context of it, and it's not just here, it happens in Jeremiah, it happens in It happens in Nehemiah. It happens in Zechariah. It happens in all the other prophets, Isaiah as well. It's hyperbolic language to speak of the context of the Israelites that missed the meaning behind of what they're doing. The Pharisees were corrupted and missed the meaning of what they were doing, but they were still following the law. You can follow the law and still not be doing it out of good faith. And that's what the Israelites were talking about. That's what Jeremiah is talking about. So once again, I don't have time to keep going. I got to go to work, but thanks for coming. You can come back later. See you later. Anyways, guys, hit piece of follow. I got to go. I got to go to work. I'm running late. But thank you guys. Hit piece of follow. She's going to be going live. Thank you guys for joining the Best More Live on TikTok. Go ahead. Subscribe button on the YouTube. I will do my best. I do have some things I got to do today, but I will do my best to drop a new video today on the YouTube, and I will do my best. Patreon, give me some patience. I may be running behind on the Patreon drop. Maybe I'll push it to Saturdays, because Saturdays I may have more time. I have a new schedule with the work that I have now, the new job and everything that I'm doing. It's a lot on my plate to get a lot of stuff done. It takes a lot of time to edit. It takes a lot of time to do drop videos. It takes a lot of time to put the Patreon stuff together, do the Best Morning Live, and then work at the same time. Okay. So now that I have this new thing going on, I have to kind of readjust my schedule a little bit. So Patreon members, be patient. New drop will be coming soon. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it on Saturdays or maybe even on Sundays, because even though I don't like to do anything on Sundays, I like to chill. I don't think I think it's okay for me Saturday and Sunday to work on Patreon and make sure that stuff is dropped. Okay. So Patreon members, be patient with me. I will be dropping something new. Okay. New video, definitely going to be working on that. We'll get a couple new videos by the end of the week on YouTube. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Don't forget to hit piece of follow. If there's a plus sign next to her name, that means you do not follow her. That means you don't support me. So go ahead and hit her a follow. She's going to be going live here soon. Okay. God bless you guys. Love you guys. In the name of the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the power, the glory, and the kingdom of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, now and forever, and to the ages. Amen. All right, guys. Love you guys. God bless. See y'all tomorrow.